The book that taught millionaires what schools never will. Part 1. Opening. In 2014, in the small town of Brattleboro, Vermont, a 92-year-old man died. He had no children, no wife, no fancy car in the driveway. His home was a modest two-bedroom house he had bought decades ago for $12,000. His neighbors knew him as a quiet man who spent his weekends chopping firewood. His name was Ronald Read, and when he died, the world was stunned. Because Ronald Read, the janitor, the gas station attendant, the man who drove a used car and wore a secondhand coat held together with a safety pin, had left behind $8 million. $8 million. His colleagues were baffled. His friends couldn't believe it. People flew in from across the country convinced there had to be a mistake, a secret inheritance, a lottery win, something. But there was no secret, no windfall, no hidden fortune passed down from a wealthy uncle. Ronald Read had simply saved what little he could and invested it quietly, patiently, in blue-chip stocks for decades, and then he waited. While the world rushed, Ronald Read waited, and while he waited, his money compounded, year after year, decade after decade, silently, invisibly, unstoppably. Now, I want you to hold that image for a moment. A janitor, $8 million, no secret formula, because across town at almost the exact same time, the former vice chairman of one of the most powerful financial firms in the world was standing in front of a bankruptcy judge. His name was Richard Foscone, Harvard MBA, Merrill Lynch executive, retired at 40. A man who had been praised publicly for his, quote, business savvy, leadership skills, and sound judgment. He owned an 18,000-square-foot mansion in Greenwich, Connecticut, 11 bathrooms, 2 elevators, 2 pools, 7 garages. It cost him over $90,000 a month just to maintain. When the 2008 financial crisis hit, his empire of debt collapsed overnight. And Richard Foscone, the Harvard man, the finance genius, the Merrill Lynch executive, told the bankruptcy judge words that should haunt all of us. I currently have no income, a janitor with $8 million, a Harvard executive with nothing. Same country, same era, completely opposite outcomes. How is that possible? That question is exactly what this channel was built to answer. And today we're going to decode one of the most important books ever written about money. A book that Wall Street doesn't want you to read in school. A book that explains, in human terms, why smart people go broke and why ordinary people quietly become millionaires. This is The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. And by the end of this video, you will never think about wealth the same way again. Part 2. The Revelation. Here's the lie they sold us. They told us that money was a math problem, that if you studied harder, learned more formulas, got the right degree, you would be rewarded with financial success. They were wrong. Morgan Housel spent years writing about finance for the Wall Street Journal and the Motley Fool, and the conclusion he reached, after studying thousands of investors, billionaires, and bankruptcies, was both simple and devastating. Doing well with money has little to do with how smart you are and a lot to do with how you behave. A genius who loses control of his emotions is a financial disaster waiting to happen. An ordinary person with no financial degree, but with patience, discipline, and self-awareness, can quietly build a fortune that will outlast them. This is the psychology of money, and it changes everything. Think about it. You spent years in school. You learned algebra, history, literature. But nobody, not one teacher, not one class, not 1 hour, taught you how money actually works in real life. They taught you to earn it, but never to keep it, never to grow it, never to think about what wealth actually means. Because here's the thing that almost no one talks about. Wealth is not what you see. That person driving a Ferrari, they might be one bad month away from bankruptcy. That family in the enormous house, they might owe more than it's worth. And that quiet person at the coffee shop with the old laptop, they might be sitting on $500,000 in index funds. True wealth is invisible. It's not what you spend, It's what you don't spend. It's the money that stays, that grows, that compounds over time. Ronald Read understood that. Richard Fisconi never did. And today I'm going to give you the 5 lessons from this book that will decode the difference between those two lives. Let's go. Part 3, the 5 lessons. Lesson 1, no one is crazy. Lesson 1. And this one will change how you judge other people's financial decisions forever. No one is crazy. Think about the person who refuses to invest in the stock market. You might think that's irrational. The data is clear. Long-term, the market always goes up. But maybe that person lived through the Great Depression, or watched their parents lose everything in a crash, or grew up in a country where the government froze bank accounts overnight. Their fear isn't stupidity, it's memory. Morgan Housel makes a point that most economists refuse to admit. Every single person on this planet makes financial decisions based on their own unique experience. A child who grew up poor sees money as survival. A child who grew up wealthy sees money as opportunity. Neither is wrong. They're just playing a different game, shaped by a different life. And here's where it gets dangerous. When we make financial decisions based on what we've seen, instead of what the data actually shows, we make emotional choices in a world that rewards rational ones. The first step to building real wealth is understanding your own story with money. What does money mean to you? Where did that belief come from? Is it helping you or quietly destroying you? Because the beliefs you inherited about money may be the most expensive thing you own. Lesson 2, luck and risk. Lesson 2, the most uncomfortable truth about success. In 1968, a young man named Bill Gates got into Lakeside School in Seattle. At the time, it was one of the only schools in the entire world with access to a computer terminal for students, 1 million to 1. That's the rough probability of a high school student in 1968 having access to that kind of technology. Bill Gates happened to be one of them. Now, this does not diminish his genius. His intelligence, his obsession, his relentless work ethic are real. But Housel asks us to be honest. How many people with equal genius never got that chance? His best friend at Lakeside, Kent Evans, was just as brilliant. He and Gates were going to build their future together. Kent Evans died in a mountaineering accident before he graduated high school. Same school, same intelligence, same ambition. One became the richest man in the world, one never had the chance. Luck and risk are two sides of the same coin, and both are more powerful than we want to admit. So what does this mean for you? It means be careful who you worship and who you dismiss. When you see someone wildly successful, ask, how much of that was skill and how much was timing? When you see someone who failed, ask, were they truly reckless or just unlucky? And most importantly, be humble about your own success. Because the same forces that lifted you up can just as quietly bring you down. The antidote is not paralysis, the antidote is preparation. Build financial buffers, expect the unexpected, because the unexpected always arrives. Lesson 3, never enough. Lesson 3. And this one destroyed more millionaires than any market crash in history. In 2008, at a party in the Hamptons, author Joseph Heller was approached by a friend who pointed to their host, a hedge fund manager who had made more money that single day than Heller's novel Catch-22 had earned in its entire history. Heller smiled and said, "Yes, but I have something he will never have." His friend asked, "What's that?" Heller said, "Enough. Enough." One of the most dangerous things in the world of money is not poverty, it's the inability to feel satisfied, the goalpost that keeps moving, the upgrade that never fulfills, the comparison that never ends. You buy the car, you want the boat, you get the house, you want the mansion, you reach the number, and you raise the number. This is how people with $10 million end up taking risks they don't need to take, trying to turn it into $100 million and ending up with nothing. Sound familiar? That was Richard Foscona. He had enough. He had more than enough. But enough was never enough. Housel's lesson is deceptively simple. The hardest financial skill is getting the goalpost to stop moving. It's not about being satisfied with poverty. It's about knowing, clearly, deliberately, what enough looks like for your life. Because the person who knows what enough is will always outperform the person who doesn't. Lesson 4. The magic of compounding. Lesson 4. The one thing that made Ronald. Read an $8 million man. Here's a fact that will break your brain. Warren Buffett, arguably the greatest investor who ever lived, has a net worth of over $100 billion. Now here's the part nobody talks about. $97 billion of that came after his 65th birthday. He started investing at 10 years old. He became a millionaire at 30. He became a billionaire at 56. But the real magic, the incomprehensible, almost unfair magic, happened in the last decades of his life. Not because he got smarter, not because he found better stocks, but because compounding had simply had enough time. Housel describes it as a snowball rolling down a hill. The snowball doesn't grow because it gets faster or stronger. It grows because the hill is long. Most people focus on the size of the snowball. The wise ones focus on the length of the hill. Ronald Read understood this. He didn't try to get rich fast. He didn't chase hot stocks or speculate on trends. He simply started, and he never stopped, for decades. And the math did the rest. If you invest $500 a month starting at age 25, at a 7% average annual return, by age 65 you will have approximately $1.3 million. If you wait until 35 to start that exact same habit, you will have $610,000, 10 years of delay, half the fortune. Time is not money. Time is the money. And the greatest threat to your financial future is not a market crash. It's the years you spent waiting to start. Lesson 5. Save. Just save. Lesson 5. The most unsexy, most ignored, most powerful financial advice ever given. Save money. Not because of what you're saving for, not for a specific goal or a dream vacation or a new car. Save because savings give you something that no salary, no promotion, no degree can give you. Options. When you have savings, you can say no to a job that's destroying you. You can wait for the right opportunity instead of taking the wrong one. You can survive the unexpected without being shattered by it. Housel calls this runway, the financial distance between you and disaster. Most people spend every dollar they earn. Some people spend more than they earn, and then they wonder why they feel trapped. The trap isn't the salary. The trap is the lifestyle that expands to fill it. Every raise gets absorbed. Every bonus gets spent. Every windfall disappears. And they're back to zero every single time. The antidote is simple, not easy, but simple. Spend less than you earn. Save the difference. Invest it patiently, and never touch it. That's what Ronald Read did. His income was modest, his lifestyle was modest. But the gap between what he earned and what he spent, that gap was sacred. And inside that gap, an $8 million fortune grew quietly over 50 years. Part 4. Emotional closure plus call to action. So let's come back to where we started. Two men, same era, same country, completely opposite fates. Richard Foscone had every advantage: the degree, the title, the connections, the salary. He had all the tools. But he confused complexity for wisdom. He confused income for wealth. He confused what he owned for what he was worth. And when the storm came, as it always does, he had nothing left to stand on. Ronald Read had nothing the world would call an advantage: no degree, no mentor, no connections, just a modest job, a small house, and a simple belief: spend less than you earn, invest the rest. Wait. When he died, he gave $6 million to the local hospital and library. His final act was generosity. because he had spent a lifetime accumulating not just money, but the quiet power that comes from needing very little. Here's what I want you to take from today. Wealth is not a math problem, it's a behavior problem. It's not about what you know, it's about what you do, consistently, quietly, over time. The 5 lessons from today. 1. Understand your own story with money. Your past is shaping your decisions right now. 2. Respect the role of luck and risk. Stay humble, stay protected. 3. Define enough. The goalpost that keeps moving will eventually run you off a cliff. 4. Start now. Compounding doesn't care about your income, it cares about your time. 5. Save. Not for things, for freedom. This channel exists for one reason: to decode the money. Secrets they never taught you in school, to tell the stories that reveal how wealth is actually built, not in Wall Street boardrooms, not in Harvard classrooms, but in the quiet, patient, deliberate decisions that most people never make, because they were never taught how until now. If this video opened your eyes, share it with someone who needs to see it. Subscribe to Wealth Decoded